So previous week I was looking at some yen shorts, and as you can see they perfectly played out from that yearly level into the downside. Why did this happen fundamentally? Well, because there was a new prime minister selected, which caused the dump on the yen. So I also looked at some dollar longs. As you can see, previous week I was looking for this upside, which kind of happened, but we are just consolidating. So this week I'm looking to break out of this consolidation zone into the downside, tap this demand, tap this previous weekly level, this yellow line, and from here trade up higher. So overall, why am I looking for upside? Well, yes, there is going to be a rate cut, which should result in some dollar downside, but what is priced in on the dollar? A 50 base point rate cut, and I am expecting a 25 base point cut. So even though that there will be a cut, I still see upside, and also people are more and more seeing in that the dollar is not that weak, and that's why I'm looking for a kind of reversal up higher back into the 100 levels. So that's my dollar analysis, and as you can already see, this weekly analysis will be a bit different. It will be more fundamentally and more looking at the pairs that are fundamentally interesting in line with the technicals. So let's take a look at some pairs that are fundamentally interesting. So we have USD yen, which looks interesting to take a short. So why short, you may ask? Because the dollar is possibly strong. Well, that's because I'm looking for a stronger yen. Why? Because whenever price rates up higher above the 155 level on USD yen, this will hurt the economy. And tomorrow, the new prime minister from Japan and Trump or the US will have some trade talks together and will possibly guide in a lower USD yen, because otherwise it might hurt the economy. So that's why I'm looking for some yen longs, even though that we are switching to a risk on environment, which should be leading to a weaker yen actually. So this is a possible short, but overall technically we are kinda looking good to trade up higher. So am I going to take any shorts as of now? I'm not going to, because looking at the technicals, we are looking perfectly fine to trade up higher in line with the order flow. You could take a small short setup to trade towards these lows here and this demand, but overall the dollar is also strong, so I don't think USD yen is the best. Looking at USDCNH, these are two trades that I took previous week, but why did I take them? Well, because Trump was mentioning that he didn't want any talks to do with China. But I wondered why he didn't want it, because that just didn't make sense. So I expected to see some downside on this pair, because I was expecting that the trade talks will happen and eventually trade deals will happen, which will result in a lower USD against the yuan. So that's why I'm shorting this pair. We now took liquidity here, so we might see a small retracement, let's say into this demand zone, and from this demand I would still look for some more short setups for this week, because the trade talks are on Thursday, I think, and after the trade talks there will probably be trade deals, which will result in even a lower USD yuan. This one is definitely on my watch list for this week. Looking at some EURUSD, I'm looking for some shorts. Why? Well, you have bearish order flow, as you can see, and now we took liquidity and from there created this overall supply zone. You have the previous weekly open here, you have some internal liquidity at these highs, so I'm looking to take this out. And if we then see a 4-hour fractal break, let me turn on the fractal indicator. You can see I want to break this fractal high, then this becomes our fractal low. Let's say we break that, then I'm looking to short again. Now overall, I'm already inside two positions. This one I have on break even, and this one is just my stop loss above this high. So what am I looking for? To just short down lower, but for you guys could definitely take some like scalings if you're not already inside your USD shorts. You have equal lows over here and overall some ascending lows. So overall, EURUSD is definitely looking good to trade down lower, especially with a stronger dollar. Looking at some other pairs, Euro Yen is also looking fine to short. Why? The euro for me personally is fundamentally a bit weak, and if you look here, we swipe this high, and like I mentioned before, the yen should be stronger by tomorrow because the US and the Takashi, the new prime minister from Japan, should have trade talks, which should result in a stronger yen, which should push this pair down lower. So euro yen also looks fine. Right now we still need to break the fractal low in order to confirm that we can have a pullback, for example to this and this liquidity, and maybe even this demand zone. So looking at the EURNZD, I'm also looking for some short setups. So all of these, like these things, these are not my actual setups that I have on the like no actual limits, but just make sure that this is just for me, that I'm looking for shorts, and these are not my actual trade setups that I'm going to be taking. So why am I looking for EURNZD shorts? Well, because like I mentioned before, we're kind of switching to risk on, which means a stronger NZD. Like I also mentioned, the euro for me is kind of bearish, so this pair should trade down lower in my opinion. We have liquidity at these lows, and kind of as you can see, the order flow here is clearly bearish trading, right? So I'm looking to short from this weekly open and this quarterly open to just short down lower in line with the order flow to trade towards these discount prices over here, these liquidity lows, and this open demand zone at this previous monthly level. So EURNZD definitely looks valid. How would I enter? Well, this is a clean supply zone. Did we already tap this supply zone? Let's see. Yeah, we did, even twice. So this for me is a strong high, so I might even place my stop loss above that high, and maybe from that weekly open try to find some short on the 1 hour time frame. So let me take a look here on the 1 hour time frame, or 50 minute even. So what do I see? Well, big bearish candle here, possibly because of the risk on environment that we now have. So we're now seeing a little pullback to possibly trade above the weekly open, and then from there maybe grab that liquidity, and then we should see some downside. So what am I looking for? Well, just to trade above the weekly open, because now we have only been trading down lower, so basically also fill in this gap. And then once we do that, wait for a strong high to be created by grabbing some liquidity, and then after the fractal into the downside, shorts are definitely looking valid on EURNZD. So what is another pair? EURNOK as well, because the NOK is quite bullish at the moment, and like I mentioned already before, the euro is quite bearish for me. So what do I see? Well, again, you guys can see this is a very consolidative pair, but overall, if the fundamentals are possibly bearish, shorting might be nice. So overall, we grab liquidity at the yearly level, and from there we push down lower. We now grab some liquidity at the lows. So what should we see? Some liquidity at the highs get taken before some shorts again. So I have my alert at this liquidity high, and also I want this high to be taken out, and from there maybe tap the quarterly level. If we then see a fractal change into the downside, creating a supply zone, then shorts are definitely looking good to trade towards the 4-hour swing lows. Overall, I'm favoring EURNZD shorts over EURNOK shorts because the technicals and the fundamentals more align with EURNZD. So GBPUSD, I'm also looking for shorts here. Why am I looking for shorts? Again, a stronger dollar, and for me the pond is as well weak. So you can see we have clear bearish order flow here, and right now this is our supply in control. So from here we should see some downside to trade down lower towards the swing low, of course, because you are swing bearish. So how would I decide to enter? Well, it is quite tricky because here we had a news week up, taking liquidity, then down lower, creating this as your supply zone. But there's not a lot of supply inside of here for me because this is a news push. So in order to take entries, I would like to see some liquidity get taken out above these highs in order to then take some short setups. But again, as you can see, I'm already inside these two setups, so I'm not going to take a third setup. I'm going to be just letting this one run down lower. But if you guys would want to take scale-ins, I think the best thing to do is to wait for a reaction up higher, to grab some liquidity, maybe even tap this refined supply zone, and from there wait for a fractal change to occur, creating a supply. From that supply, short down lower towards the swing low. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for on GBPUSD. And if I then look at GBPNOK, also the pound is weak and the NOK is kind of bullish, so that would also result in some nice shorts. So from what point am I looking to short? Well, here we take a lot of liquidity at the lows, and now I also see this could be for our swing structure. So if I take this and I then take the PVD from the high until the low, then I can see that because we took so much liquidity at the lows, we'll take some liquidity at the highs, we'll tap this possible supply zone, and we'll tap that quarterly level. That would be a very high probability short setup, to short towards this daily or even weekly liquidity at this low over here to continue down lower in line with the overall order flow down lower. All right. So yeah, that's looking really, really good. Overall, we also have AUDNZD that I'm looking to trade up higher. So we know that risk on is for this week my environment, and we should see some strength in the Australian dollar and the NZD dollar. So this pair should consolidate. But for me, the AUD is a bit stronger than NZD, so that's why I'm looking for some upside on AUDNZD. Keep in mind, I think tomorrow is USDJPY, so I'm not entering any setups until after CPY, but it is expected that CPY will be good for AD and pushing it up higher. Now overall, I'm not going to trade any news events as of now because I'm not sure what this CPY number will be. Overall, let's say we get a drop right now, tomorrow with CPY we push up higher, we create another demand, then I could possibly look for these kind of longs to trade up until this overall weekly liquidity over here. Okay, because we're pushing up higher right now. I think the fundamentals are still bullish, so we had a small rejection from this strong level, but I think we could now easily trade up higher from here. If the fundamentals, of course, are in line, if the AD numbers tomorrow are bullish. So looking at some other pairs, let's see if there is any other pair that I'm looking for. You have CAD Swiss that could be trading up higher because you have the Swiss franc that should be weakening, and the CAD that should gain some strength because of risk on. So maybe from this weekly open, we could see some upside towards this quarterly level. So you could possibly take some small long setups here. You also have this demand here. So maybe like this, take some liquidity, see a lower time frame confirmation to take long to these liquidities, maybe even this one. But this is, again, technically not aligning. So you have multiple fundamental pairs here, but I need them to technically also align. So if you also trade some metals, or some, not USOIL is not a metal, but I have it here. But USOIL, as you can see, for me, it was overpriced. So previous week, so I was looking for shorts here. I'm inside this short. I have it on break even. Right now, we also already grabbed liquidity at the low. So it might be good for me to take profits because fundamentally oil is bullish, but it was just overpriced, and I could see a little dump from the quarterly level. Looking at gold, I think this week we're looking to short towards the quarterly levels. Why? Again, we are from safe havens going to risk on because there are more trade deals going on, or trade talks at least, which should result in a weaker gold, and this is a perfect level to trade to. Why? If I look at the daily time frame, what do I see? We had a very big dump. We now consolidate, and now I'm looking for further dump in line with the news this weekend that we are inside a risk on environment, or going to a risk on environment. So I'm looking to take liquidity at these lows, and then from there possibly trade up higher or continue down lower and then trade up higher. But this week I'm definitely looking for some downside on gold. Looking at copper, these are very, very, very clean upside moves, and I would also recommend looking for some upside this week on copper. Why? If the US and China have some trade deals, this would result in a stronger copper. You can also see previous week it has been rising. What is the reason for that? Well, because trade talks are going to happen, and possibly trade deals will also happen, which will result in a stronger copper. And there are also other fundamentals around a stronger copper, which you can read on Forex fundamentals. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm also inside Hong Kong 50 longs. Again, same reason, expecting trade talks with US and China, which then happened and then resulted in some upside on Hong Kong 50. And then, yeah, of course, this was my first target here, but the trade deals still need to happen. So this might even push up higher to some all-time highs. So yeah, that's basically it for this week. I hope you liked it. Let me know if you like this kind of fundamentals in line with technicals more than just only technicals and looking at my main pairs. So let me know what you think of it, and I'll hear from you inside the comments. See you next week. Ciao.